Looking for a classic crowd pleaser recipe? Here's a recipe for a classic crowd pleaser: spaghetti bolognese. This hearty and flavorful pasta dish is an all-time favorite, perfect for those cozy family dinners or grand get-togethers. Picture this: perfectly cooked spaghetti, generously topped with a rich savory bolognese sauce, sprinkled with freshly grated Parmesan cheese, and garnished with fresh basil or parsley. Our key ingredients include ground beef or a mix of beef and pork, olive oil, onions, garlic, carrots, celery, red bell pepper, crushed tomatoes, and tomato paste. We'll also be using a few herbs and spices like bay leaves, dried oregano, basil, thyme, and of course salt and black pepper for taste. A touch of sugar will balance the acidity of tomatoes, and a little butter will add an extra layer of richness. And let's not forget our pasta: 2 pounds of spaghetti. Ready to get started? First, we'll prepare the bolognese sauce. Begin by heating olive oil in a large, heavy-bottomed pot. This is where all the magic happens, where flavors meld and the sauce begins to take on a life of its own. Once the oil is heated, introduce the ground beef to the pot. Cook it until it's browned and no longer pink, breaking it apart with a spoon as it cooks. This is no time for shyness. Get in there and make sure every bit of meat is beautifully browned. Now, let's add some color and flavor to the mix with the chopped onions, garlic, carrots, celery, and red bell pepper. Sauté these for about 5 to 7 minutes, or until they soften and their flavors start to sing. Next, stir in the tomato paste. This might seem like a small step, but it's a game changer. Letting the tomato paste caramelize will add a depth of flavor that will make your bolognese sauce stand out from the crowd. Now, it's time to bring everything together. Pour in the crushed tomatoes and red wine if you're using it. The wine is optional, but it does add a wonderful richness to the sauce. Add the bay leaves, dried oregano, dried basil, dried thyme, salt, freshly ground black pepper, and sugar. The sugar is there to balance the acidity of the tomatoes, giving your sauce a well-rounded flavor profile. Once everything's in the pot, reduce the heat to low, cover it, and let the sauce simmer for at least 1 hour. This is where patience pays off. The longer the sauce simmers, the richer and more complex the flavors will be. If the sauce becomes too thick, feel free to add a little water. Just before you're ready to serve, stir in the butter to give your sauce an added touch of richness. Taste and adjust the seasonings if needed, and there you have it: a bolognese sauce that's been prepared with love and patience. Now, while the sauce simmers, you'll have just enough time to prepare the pasta. While your sauce is simmering, bring a large pot of water to a boil. This is where we'll cook our spaghetti. Now, the secret to truly delectable pasta lies in the boiling water. You want it salty, not unlike the sea, to ensure that our pasta is flavorful all the way through. Once the water is boiling and salted, it's time to introduce the spaghetti. Make sure to give it a good stir to prevent any sticking. Follow the package instructions closely to achieve that perfect al dente texture. Al dente, or to the tooth, is when the pasta is still firm when bitten. It's the ideal state for pasta, ensuring it's neither overcooked nor undercooked. When the spaghetti reaches this perfect state, drain the pasta. Remember, don't rinse it. We want to keep that wonderful starchy layer on the pasta. It helps the sauce adhere better. With the pasta cooked and drained, it's time to serve up this crowd pleaser. Now comes the best part: serving up your delicious spaghetti bolognese. After all your diligent preparation and simmering, it's finally time to plate this classic crowd pleaser. Begin by distributing the perfectly al dente spaghetti onto individual plates, or if you're serving a larger group, you might prefer to use a grand serving platter. Next, ladle generous helpings of your rich, aromatic bolognese sauce over the pasta. Watch as the sauce clings to each strand, promising a burst of flavor with every bite. But we're not done yet. It's time for the garnishing. Sprinkle a liberal amount of grated Parmesan cheese over the sauce. The warmth of the sauce will melt the cheese just slightly, creating a fantastic gooey texture. Follow this with a scattering of fresh basil or parsley, lending a pop of color and a fresh counterpoint to the robust bolognese. And for those who like a bit of heat, a sprinkle of red pepper flakes can add a delightful kick. Serve hot and enjoy your delicious spaghetti bolognese with friends and family.